So we have our soundboard. Many names: soundboard, sound mixer, audio console, sound console, mixing board. You guys missed one slide, you're fine. So the purpose of your mixer is to collect all your audio signals, modify them to how you want, and then send it back out as like a mix down. So you can have recording and playback devices. So there's computers, so you can use those to record, play back sounds, play videos, and then the audio will be routed to your mixer. There's still tape decks. Some places they're just old. I would suggest just getting rid of it. It makes your life easier because then oh no, I can't make a tape. I'm sorry. CD players, recorders, they're not as popular because they just sort of came out right as like flash storage came in. So less places were running CD burners. But I'm actually doing quite a bit of these now because we're doing, the school has a prison ministry program. We run our classes in the prisons. We have about 50 or 60 students that are inmates right now. And in some of those institutions, until recently, we couldn't go in person. So some of the institutions have DVD players, so we were taking videos, burning them to DVDs, and sending them out. I had to remember how to burn DVDs again. And then other places don't even have access to DVD players, so we were taking the audio files and burning them to CDs so that they could listen to them. The inmates aren't allowed anything that's rewritable. So it has to be hard-coded on, so we have to use CDRs. We can't use rewritable discs either. Then you get into flash memory, which is sort of the standard. It can be a rack component, it can be a standalone recorder, or it can be built into your mixer. If we go back to this mixer, it's hard to see on this picture, but there's a little USB slot on there. It has a built-in 2-channel recorder. So you just put a memory stick in it, hit record, and it does it all built in. Our SQ has the same thing. Computers are almost becoming more of a requirement at this point, mainly used for displaying video production. It's like what's happening right now. But you can also use them as an extension of the mixer, as a DOS, as a digital audio workstation. So you can use that to play tracks, click, record multi-track, do virtual sound check. So virtual sound check is you multi-track record your band, and then you play it back through the board, and then you get to either, you can make your mix from that, or you can just play with it and sort of figure out what things do. Multi-band EQ, that's the little knobs, 31 of them usually. It's set up in third octaves, and you can just pull things in and out. They're generally used just before your amp. It's sort of your final EQ going to the speakers. And you generally don't, that's sort of a set up your system and sort of leave it for a while. Limiter, this will be right after that. This is sort of the last stage. You set a level that it can't go above, and that just protects your speakers so that you can't, if you try to push more out of it to the point where you would wreck your speakers because it can't do that, this will kick in and just hold the volume at a set level. Compression. This, instead of stopping the sound like a limiter, it just sort of reduces it at a set ratio. So a 2-to-1, so every 2 dB over the threshold, the volume goes up by 1. 3-to-1 would be 3 dB to go up 1, that type of thing. It can also be used on the whole system. It can be used on groups. It can be used on channels. It can also be used as an effect. You can use it to shape the sound. Can you put up my mixer again? Oh. It can't, it's too weak. Well, I wasn't using it, I guess, so there we go. So here's my mixer. I have a compressor section. So as it goes up, you can see there's my signal level going up. If I wanted to control it so that I couldn't get too loud, turn that on. If I bring this threshold down, check, 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 you can see that it's now compressing the ever-living snot out of my channel here. You can also bring some volume back in using gain. It's a little too much compression. So one way I would use this, especially on a talking mic, is I'm not really getting much compression now, but if I get louder, then it'll kick in and sort of protect it or hold that volume. And then I can also add a little bit to make it a bit louder in general. So now if I start talking loudly, it doesn't get that much louder out of the speakers because the compressor's kicking in and pulling my volume down. So if I turn that off, now if I talk louder, it's louder out of the speakers. So that's a compressor. We'll get into a little bit more with that. You can go back to the slides. So crossover, generally you can get them as outboard gear, but most of the time they're just sort of built into the speakers now. So the speaker has two elements to it. There's a high frequency voice coil on the top. It's a smaller tweeter that gives you the high frequencies, and then there's like a 12-inch woofer in the bottom. So it takes a full range signal, and then there's a crossover, so it takes all the high frequencies and sends that to one speaker, and then the low frequencies to the lower speaker. My audio is actually running through the subwoofer. It also has a crossover. It's taking the lows and keeping it, and then the higher frequencies it's sending out to these speakers. So that would be your crossover. The amplifier, it would just be, that's what's boosting the power. We're going from line level to speaker level now, so there's enough actual power to move the components of the speaker.